The closest planet to the sun has ice, actual confirmed water ice, sitting in craters near the North Pole in pockets of shadow so permanent that sunlight hasn't touched them in 4 billion years. 36 million miles from the largest furnace in the solar system, and there's ice just sitting there, waiting, unbothered. Mercury is the planet everyone skips. No rings, no moons, no Hollywood movies. It's the solar system's quiet kid, sits in the front row, does its homework, gets completely ignored at lunch. But if you actually bother to look, this tiny gray rock is one of the strangest, most extreme places we've ever found. A day that lasts 2 years, a sunrise that moves backward, a temperature swing of over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit between lunch and dinner, and an iron core so massive the whole planet is basically a cannonball someone forgot to finish building. Nobody talks about Mercury. That's about to change. Mercury gets no love, and honestly, it doesn't help its own case. First impression? Gray, cratered, dusty. Looks like the moon had a slightly smaller, sadder cousin. If planets had dating profiles, Mercury's would say, likes long walks in direct radiation, and get 0 matches. But the numbers tell a different story. During the day, Mercury's surface hits around 800 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt zinc and tin. At night, it crashes to minus 290 degrees Fahrenheit, colder than any temperature ever naturally recorded on Earth. That's a 1,000-degree swing, the largest of any planet in the solar system. And the reason is simple. Mercury has almost no atmosphere, a thin exosphere of atoms blasted off the surface by the solar wind, so thin that individual atoms rarely bump into each other. It barely qualifies as existing. So Mercury gets all the heat and can't hold on to any of it. It's like running a space heater in a parking lot with no walls. The heater is doing great. The parking lot doesn't care. If Max were standing on Mercury right now, the side of his suit facing the sun would read 800 degrees Fahrenheit. The side in shadow would be approaching frostbite temperatures, 2 feet apart. Paradise and catastrophe, separated by the width of a golden retriever, which is, incidentally, exactly where Cosmo has parked himself. Half roasting, half freezing, tail wagging in both temperature zones simultaneously. Absolutely no survival instincts whatsoever. Mercury's relationship with time is broken. There's no other way to say it. One rotation on its axis, a single Mercury day, takes 59 Earth days. But one orbit around the sun takes only 88 Earth days. So a day is 2/3 of a year. Already weird. But because of a gravitational quirk called 3:2 spin-orbit resonance, the actual solar day, sunrise to sunrise, stretches to 176 Earth days. That's 2 full Mercury years. You'd orbit the sun twice between one sunrise and the next. You could celebrate your birthday, orbit the sun, celebrate it again, orbit the sun again, and the sun still hasn't set. And then there's the thing that would genuinely make you question your sanity. At certain points in Mercury's orbit, the sun appears to stop in the sky. Then it reverses direction, drifts backward for a few Earth days, then corrects itself and carries on like nothing happened. This isn't a glitch. It's real physics, a consequence of Mercury speeding up at its closest approach to the sun while its rotation stays constant. The orbital speed temporarily outpaces the spin, and the sun tracks backward across the sky. Imagine standing outside and watching the sun go right, pause, slide left, and then go right again. On Earth, that would be front page of every newspaper territory. On Mercury, it happens routinely, twice a year, and nobody's around to panic about it. Max checks his watch. He's been on the surface for what feels like an hour. The sun has barely moved. It won't, not noticeably, for weeks. Great. We landed on the planet where time forgot how to work. Cosmo is already asleep. Cosmo settled the waiting problem before Max even identified it. Mercury is small, smallest planet in the solar system, about 3,032 miles across. You could fit it inside the continental United States with room to spare. Jupiter's great red spot, just the storm, is bigger than the entire planet. But for something this small, Mercury is weirdly absurdly heavy, second highest density in the solar system after Earth. And the reason is the kind of backstory that a planet doesn't talk about at parties. Mercury's core, mostly iron, takes up about 85% of the planet's radius. For comparison, Earth's core is about 55%. Mercury isn't a planet with a core. It's a core with a planet wrapped around it, an iron cannonball wearing a thin, rocky disguise. The leading theory for why something huge hit Mercury early in the solar system's history. A body hundreds of miles across slammed into it and blasted away most of the outer rocky layers. What survived was the dense metallic heart with barely enough crust left to cover it. Mercury got stripped down to its skeleton 4 billion years ago and never grew back. Max knocks on the ground with his boot. Feels solid, dense, uncomfortably dense, actually, like standing on the deck of an aircraft carrier instead of actual ground. Cosmo, we're standing on a planet that's basically a giant metal ball. Cosmo rolls over on the dense metal ball and presents his belly for scratching. Priorities. Now, the ice, because this is the part that makes Mercury genuinely fascinating rather than just weird. Mercury's axis has almost no tilt, 0.034 degrees. Earth's is 23.4. That means Mercury doesn't have seasons, and more importantly, the floors of deep craters near the poles never see sunlight. Ever. Not once in the planet's history. Permanent, ancient, absolute shadow. In those shadows, temperatures drop to minus 370 degrees Fahrenheit. Cold enough to preserve ice for billions of years, even on a planet that regularly hits 800 degrees Fahrenheit a few miles away. NASA's Messenger spacecraft confirmed it in 2012. Radar bright deposits in polar craters. Water ice, probably delivered by comet impacts billions of years ago. The comets crashed, the water spread, and some of it migrated to the only place cold enough to survive. The freezer at the bottom of the solar system's hottest kitchen. Max walks toward one of the craters. The rim is in full sunlight, surface hot enough to melt lead. He looks over the edge. The bottom is pitch black, maybe 50 feet between one extreme and the other. This planet is insane. He picks up a pebble and tosses it over the rim. It disappears into darkness. From somewhere below, total silence. Nothing bounces back. Cosmo peers over the edge, ears forward, head tilted. He backs up, not out of understanding. Dogs don't understand minus 370, but something about the dark bothers him. Something cold and bottomless and wrong. For once, Cosmo's instincts actually work. Max clips the leash. Yeah, buddy, we're not going down there. Mercury moves faster than any other planet. Average orbital speed, about 105,000 miles per hour, nearly twice Earth's speed. It completes a full orbit in 88 days. In the time it takes you to finish a school semester, Mercury's been around the sun twice. And this speed is what saved it from a fate worse than being forgotten. Being swallowed. Mercury is close enough to the sun that the gravitational pull is ferocious. Without that velocity, it would spiral inward. The speed keeps it alive. Mercury is a rock perpetually outrunning a fire. The orbit is also eccentric, not a circle, but an oval. Mercury's distance from the sun varies from 29 million miles at closest approach to 43 million miles at farthest. A 50% swing. Earth's distance varies by about 3%. Mercury's orbit looks like something drawn on a bus, and it was this sloppy oval that helped prove Einstein was right about the universe. Mercury's perihelion, its closest point to the sun, shifts slightly with each orbit. The whole ellipse rotates. Astronomers in the 1800s noticed it, couldn't explain it, and literally invented a fake planet called Vulcan between Mercury and the sun to account for the math. Then, Einstein published general relativity in 1915. His equations predicted Mercury's orbital drift perfectly. No extra planets needed. The warping of space-time by the sun's mass explained everything. Mercury's weird orbit became one of the first pieces of evidence that gravity isn't a force pulling things. It's space itself bending. the smallest, most ignored planet in the solar system, helped rewrite our understanding of the universe, and nobody even thanked it. Here's the thing about Mercury. It's the closest planet to the source of everything, the sun. All the energy, all the light, all the warmth that makes life possible in this solar system starts there. And Mercury gets more of it than anyone else. And it can't use any of it. No atmosphere to trap heat, no magnetic field strong enough to block radiation, no liquid water on the surface. Mercury sits at the best table in the restaurant and can't eat the food. But it has ice hiding in the dark, an iron core that survived something catastrophic, an orbit that helped prove space-time bends, and a sunrise that goes backward for fun. Mercury doesn't advertise. It doesn't need to. It just orbits the sun at 105,000 miles per hour, holding its weird little secrets in permanent shadow, waiting for someone to bother looking. Max walks back toward the ship. The sun still hasn't moved. It won't for weeks. Cosmo trots beside him, and for a second, just a second, he stops, turns around, and looks back at the horizon. The sun hangs there, enormous, taking up way too much sky. Cosmo stares at it, then at Max. Then he turns and keeps walking. You just had a moment, didn't you? Cosmo doesn't answer, but his tail says yes. Sometimes the quiet ones really do have the best stories. Next time, Max and Cosmo are visiting Earth's evil twin, a planet where it rains acid. The pressure would crush a submarine in seconds, and the sun rises in the west. Venus is waiting. She's not friendly.